Reverence is one of 7 gifts which are listed traditionally as being of the Holy Spirit. It used to be known many years ago as the gift of piety. Why did the church change the name? Not because piety is bad, certainly. The church changed the name because to call it piety focuses our attention only on the element of reverence that involves pious practices, prayer, fasting, and so on. If we were to continue to name the gift as piety, there would be a danger of missing the practical side of reverence, the element of reverence that involves reverence not only for God, but also reverence for our fellow human beings, sisters and brothers in Christ. To continue to name the gift as piety might lead us away from the reverence for God's gift of the creative world, and for human ability to work with God to make our world a better place. So today, we give this gift the name of reverence. The number 7, when used in the Bible, indicates completion, fullness, or fulfillment. In the Bible, numbers can be taken literally sometimes, as when we learn, for example, that a man and a woman had 6 sons. But just as often, the numbers are symbolic, and their use teaches something or reveals a truth that might otherwise have lain hidden and undiscovered amongst the details of the story. When we modern people use numbers, we tend to be much more precise in their use, much less symbolic. Let's take an example. You have probably learned that there are 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, given to us in baptism, sealed and affirmed for us in the sacrament of confirmation, and then available to us to draw on all through life to strengthen and sustain us. These gifts are the tools we need in order to live the Christian life, and you've probably heard that these 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit are wisdom, knowledge, understanding, courage, right judgment, reverence, and wonder and awe in God's presence. Now, we can take this number, 7, to be a mathematical truth, revealing to us that there are indeed 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit. And this would be a wonderful truth, revealing God's generosity and providence in offering these gifts to guide, sustain, and inform our path through life. There's another way that we could take this number, the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit. What if this number, 7, really does retain its biblical sense of fulfillment, completion, or fullness? Then, when we name the number of gifts of the Holy Spirit as 7, we would not so much be numbering them as we'd be making a statement of faith, proclaiming that the gifts of our God are so bounteous, so many, so plentiful, and so present that indeed God can be said to have poured forth these wondrous gifts into our lives. There aren't only 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit. There are many, many, many gifts of the Holy Spirit. And furthermore, these gifts are not held in the hands of a stingy God who measures them out to us in cupfuls. These gifts are poured out, rained out by a God of bounty. Sometimes the gifts are obvious to us. Sometimes we may have to look for the gift or the blessing, but it is surely there. Even more wondrous, these gifts of the Holy Spirit are not one size fits all. These gifts are offered to each of us when we need them, as we need them, and for as long as we need them. The truth, I think, is that we've often thought about the gifts of the Holy Spirit as gifts from the Holy Spirit to me. What about if we fine-tune this a bit? What if these gifts of the Holy Spirit are the gifts of God's very self? What if the wonder is that they are God's call to us? They reveal to us a little bit of what God is like, and then they point the way to becoming more like the very God in whose image and likeness we are created, live and move and have our being. So, what can we say about the Holy Spirit's gift of reverence? When you look in the dictionary, you will see that reverence is a noun, and it can mean, first, a feeling or attitude of deep respect tinged with awe and often love. Veneration. Reverence is a feeling usually reserved for the sacred or the divine. The outward manifestation of this feeling. To pay reverence. Or, third, a gesture indicative of deep respect, an obeisance, a bow, or a curtsy. Back in 2002, Paul Woodruff wrote a book. It was called Reverence, Renewing a Forgotten Virtue. In this book, he defines reverence very simply as the well-developed capacity to have the feelings of awe, respect, and shame when these are the right feelings to have. Yet, Woodruff says, contemporary society seems to have lost the capacity for reverence. This loss of reverence can take many forms. It can take the forms of loss of respect for yourself, loss of respect for your body, for your God-given gifts and abilities. It can take the form of disdain for your pastor, or disregard for laws, for rules, or rituals. It can take the shape of disdain for the government, or destruction of the environment. It can take the form of lack of respect for public property or for the property of a neighbor. It sometimes seems to me that Woodruff is right, and we have a bit of a crisis of reverence happening in our midst. I may have slipped in this area, and maybe you can relate to this. In recent years, society has focused a great deal on human rights. This is a good thing. To name, identify, and offer to individuals and groups those commonly acknowledged basic human rights expresses or creates a common understanding of what people need in order to live, to grow, to be. To deny basic human rights to an individual or group is an offense. It denies them of what they might need in order to live, to grow, to become. But sometimes we have placed the rights of the individual over and against the rights of the whole of society. When this happens, there is an imbalance. At the Second Vatican Council, there was a wise clarification made that with every right accorded to an individual or a group comes an attending and corresponding responsibilities. In other words, with every right that I as an individual have comes a call to reverence. Reverence for others, reverence for individuals, reverence for other groups, reverence for the beliefs of those different than I, reverence for the understandings that different people have from mine, reverence for the God who created and sustained such wondrous diversity. Reverence is the gift that makes it possible for me to say thank you to the God who not only allows diversity, but who revels in it, who delights in it. Reverence is the gift that makes it possible for me to look at you and to see in you God at work. Reverence is the gift that moves my heart beyond contemplating the beauty of a flower to deep contemplation of the one who made the flower and then placed it on my path today. How can we recover reverence and act more reverently? Taking a cue from Aristotle, Woodruff says that we become reverent by doing reverent things. 5 years ago, I faced a health crisis and I lost 170 pounds to recover my health. What I really recovered was the gift of reverence. I discovered that taking care of my body is an act of reverence, and I've discovered that maintaining a healthy body, when some of that health is in my control, is an act of reverence, for this allows me to do God's work to the best of my ability. In the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 16, we hear these words, Let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven. So, how do you know that I'm expressing reverence? Or how do you know that I'm a person of reverence? You know by watching me. By my fruits you shall know me. I watch you, and I learn your ways of reverence. You come upon me in the street at lunchtime, and you ask, where am I going? I tell you that I take my lunch hour, most days, to spend an hour with my mother, who's been housebound lately. She likes me and my sisters and brothers to drop by now and then to share stories of our days and the ordinary little happenings that many of us take for granted, but they seem monumental to someone who's sick or shut in. I tell you, there were probably many days in my childhood when Mom could not do something that she wanted to do because I was sick, or because a sister or brother needed help with homework or something like that. Now it's payback time. I get to spend time now with Mom, and this is one of my acts of reverence for her and for the God who gave her to me and to my family as a great gift. How did I get this reverence for Mom and for God? I got it by watching Mom packing all 8 of us children into a car and going to spend time with her father and her aunts. I got it by watching her patience when stories were told again and again and again. I got it by witnessing Mom's laughter when she and her sister and sister-in-law made up skits and songs about the funny things that the old folks said or did. How did Mom get this reverence? She got it by living with a father and a mother who invited the older members of the family into their home to be cared for when they could no longer care for themselves. She got it from a father who kept alive the memories, the stories, the goodness of the older folks who'd passed on. You get the picture. How do we become reverent? We become reverent by practicing reverent ways, by doing reverent things. The more I take out of this bank account, the more there is to draw on. It grows by being used. It's like a spiritual muscle. It grows and becomes stronger by being exercised. We become reverent by practicing reverence. So today, your challenge is to go out and practice. Practice reverence for yourself by making a healthy choice. Practice reverence for another person by listening to a story, and you will find that you have practiced reverence for God in your doing.